Welcome back, everybody. You ready to dive into some more juicy political drama?
I am.
All right, so today we are getting prepped for season 2 of the Netflix political thriller, The Diplomat. And as you all know, this show, it's not just your typical, fluffy political drama.
Right.
We're talking like high-stakes diplomacy,
Yeah.
betrayals, just like heart-wrenching choices that our main character has to face.
Yeah, and I think what's so fascinating about The Diplomat is how it really blends these like political thrills with a really deep look into the human cost of these global power plays.
Yeah.
And it's this reminder that even on the world stage,
Yeah.
you've got those personal relationships
Right.
and then the international relations.
Yeah.
They're just like deeply intertwined.
Yeah, and like it just makes you think about how people in these positions of power navigate those blurred lines.
It is tough to even imagine.
Speaking of those power players, let's revisit season 1 for a minute
Okay.
and talk about our main character, Kate Weiler. She gets thrown right into the fire, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah, initially she's posted to London, but quickly finds herself grappling with this major international crisis. And what I think is really clever about the show is that they never explicitly name the hostile force at play,
Oh, interesting.
which adds this layer of mystery and makes it feel eerily relevant to kind of today's very complex geopolitical landscape.
That's such a good point. It's like they're almost deliberately tapping into our anxieties about these like unseen forces
Yeah.
that are shaping global events. It's really interesting. And then just when you think, okay, I kind of have a grasp on the situation, episode 4 throws this major curveball.
Yes, absolutely. So we see Hal Weiler, Kate's own husband.
Yeah.
He's a seasoned diplomat himself, makes this bold power move that no one sees coming.
Right.
This unexpected maneuver forces Kate into a corner and really highlights the tension that this show so brilliantly portrays between personal ambition and national duty.
Yeah.
Imagine being in her shoes,
Yeah.
having to make those kinds of decisions with the world watching.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. And it makes you think, how does like someone's personal life, especially, their relationship with their spouse, could that affect their decisions on the world stage?
It's huge. It's not just about policy and strategy.
Yeah.
It's about human emotions,
Right.
personal stakes.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget that cliffhanger ending in season 1.
Yeah, talk about leaving us with a ton of unanswered questions.
Oh, absolutely. The season 1 finale is just
Yeah.
a masterclass in suspense. Leaves viewers just on the edge of their seats
Wow.
wondering what will happen next. But without giving too much away, for those who haven't caught up, let's just say it sets the stage for an even more intense and unpredictable season 2.
Okay, so we've kind of revisited those big pivotal moments from season 1, but what I find particularly gripping about The Diplomat is how it delves into those like almost universal themes that we can all relate to, even if we're not political junkies, you know? Like ambition, betrayal, sacrifice,
Sure.
things we can all kind of relate to on some level.
Exactly. One of those core themes is moral ambiguity. The show doesn't shy away from portraying situations where there are no easy answers, where characters are forced to make tough choices with potentially devastating consequences.
It's like that classic thought experiment, would you sacrifice one life to save 10? Like, The Diplomat forces us to confront these moral dilemmas. And it's not always clear what the right decision is. Take, for example, Ambassador Chin's actions in season 1. He believes that he's acting in the best interests of his country, but his methods, morally questionable,
Right.
to say the least. And it raises the question, does the pursuit of peace justify morally ambiguous action?
That's such a great example. And it's something that viewers are going to have to grapple with even more. In season 2, how far is Kate willing to go to achieve her goals? Will she be able to hold on to her integrity as the stakes get higher?
Right.
And the pressure mounts?
Such a compelling question, and it leads me to season 2. I know we're all kind of eager to see what's in store for Kate. What can you tell us? Without giving away any spoilers, of course.
Well, based on what we've seen in trailers and teasers, it seems like the political landscape has shifted pretty dramatically.
Okay.
Kate's facing new enemies. Some of her allies are starting to look a little shady.
Oh, wow.
And the global tensions from season 1 haven't gone away. In fact, they might be escalating.
So even higher stakes this time around.
I got to admit, I'm a little nervous for Kate. Can she handle the pressure and how her personal life, especially her marriage to Hal, How will that factor into her decisions?
Those are million-dollar questions, aren't they?
They are.
From what we've seen, it seems like their relationship is already strained, and with the added pressure of this international intrigue, it's hard to imagine things getting easier for them. Yeah. I know, but part of what makes The Diplomat so captivating is that it just keeps us guessing. You think you know what's going to happen, and then the writers throw this unexpected twist.
Right.
It's like, just playing chess with our emotions, you know?
Yes.
And I, for one, I'm completely hooked.
I'm right there with you. Me too. And I think those unpredictable twists and turns are going to be even more pronounced in season 2.
Okay, so we've got this volatile political landscape, strained personal relationships, and the promise of even more twists and turns. What else should viewers be watching for in this new season?
So from what I've gathered, it looks like the scope of the conflict is expanding.
Okay.
There are hints that new players will be entering the game.
Oh, new players.
Ooh. Potentially even. Countries like France and China.
Wow, okay.
This could lead to some fascinating new alliances.
And power dynamics.
Okay, so it's not just about navigating
the
existing players, but also anticipating the moves
of
these new entrants onto this global chessboard.
It sounds like season 2 is shaping up to be even more intricate and complex than the first.
I think so.
Do you think? That the writers are going to delve deeper into the world of diplomacy itself. Maybe shed some light on those behind-the-scenes maneuvers and strategies that most people aren't even aware of.
I think that's a definite possibility. Season 1 already gave us a glimpse into the art of what's called back-channeling.
Back-channeling?
So that's like those unofficial, often secret lines of communication that diplomats use to negotiate sensitive issues.
Oh, I see.
I wouldn't be surprised if season 2 explores that concept even further, perhaps showing us how Kate utilizes back-channeling to navigate the increasingly complex web of international relations.
It's like we get to peek behind the curtain of international diplomacy and understand the nuances and the strategies that shape global events.
And it makes those high-stakes negotiations even more gripping.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that there's this intricate dance that's happening beneath the surface. And it could also provide an opportunity, I think, to introduce the concept of soft power.
Oh, soft power, yeah.
Which is the ability to influence others through cultural or ideological means rather than force. And we saw hints of this in season 1 with the role of media and public perception.
Right.
But season 2 could maybe delve deeper, showing how countries utilize soft power to advance their interests and shape the global narrative.
Yeah, a fascinating aspect of diplomacy that often gets overlooked.
And to bring that concept to life and show the subtle ways in which countries wield their cultural influence to achieve their goals, that would be really cool to see. And I think it would add another layer of complexity to Kate's character as well, because she's navigating not only the hard power of military and economic might, but also the soft power of persuasion and cultural diplomacy.
It's a reminder that diplomacy isn't just about treaties and negotiations. It's about understanding those cultural nuances, the unspoken rules, the subtle power dynamics that shape the relationships between nations.
So season 2 of The Diplomat looks like it's going to be this thrilling exploration of these really complex dynamics, higher stakes, new players, and an even deeper dive into the art of diplomacy itself.
I'm excited.
It sounds like we're in for a real treat. Now, before we move on to some fan theories and predictions, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the show's cultural impact. Why do you think The Diplomat has resonated so deeply with audiences?
I think part of its appeal is that it captures the anxieties of our current geopolitical moment, the fragility of international relations, the constant threat of conflict, the feeling that things could escalate at any moment. It's all there in the show.
You like they're holding up this mirror to our own fears about the state of the world, but it does so in a way that's both thrilling and thought-provoking.
I think so, too.
You know, it's not just about escapism. It's about engaging with these complex issues in a way that feels both entertaining and intellectually stimulating.
Precisely. And it raises important questions about the role of women in positions of power. You know, Kate's character challenges traditional gender roles in diplomacy, showcasing her intelligence, her resilience, and her unwavering commitment to her country. And she does all of this while facing subtle sexism and constantly having to prove her competence.
It's inspiring to see her navigate those challenges, especially in such a high-pressure, male-dominated field. It makes
Yeah.
just you wonder, how much progress have we really made when it comes to gender equality in these areas?
That's a great question. And it's one that the Diplomat invites us to consider. Kate's journey is a reminder that women still face significant barriers in achieving leadership roles, particularly in fields like diplomacy and international relations.
It's not just about breaking those glass ceilings. It's about changing perceptions and challenging the deeply ingrained biases that often hinder women's advancement in these areas. And it's also about showcasing the unique strengths that women bring to the table. You know, their ability to build consensus, their empathy, and their commitment to finding peaceful resolutions to these complex problems.
Absolutely. And I think the Diplomat does a fantastic job of portraying these qualities in Kate's character. She's not just this tough negotiator.
Right.
She's also a compassionate leader who's willing to listen, to understand different perspectives, and to find common ground.
Yeah, and it's this refreshing departure from those stereotypical portrayals of female leaders, you know, as either cold and calculating or overly emotional. Kate's complex, well-rounded. She embodies both strength and vulnerability, intelligence and compassion.
And I think that's why she resonates so deeply with viewers.
Yeah.
You know, she's a role model
Yeah.
for anyone who's ever felt underestimated or marginalized because of their gender.
So season 2 of The Diplomat is poised to be this captivating blend of political intrigue, personal drama, and insightful commentary on the challenges of our time.
Yes.
It's a show that not only entertains, but also challenges us to think critically about the world around us.
And it does so with a compelling cast of characters, sharp writing, and a nuanced understanding of the complexities of international relations.
Okay, so we've revisited the key moments from season 1, explored the themes that make this show so compelling, and discussed its cultural impact. But before we jump into those juicy fan theories and predictions, let's take a moment to hear from you.
Yes.
What are you most looking forward to in season 2? What questions are you hoping will be answered?
Hit us up on social media using hashtag #TheDiplomatDeepDive and share your thoughts. We're dying to know what you think.
And when we come back, we'll be diving into some of the juiciest fan theories and predictions for season 2. So grab your popcorn, get ready for more Diplomat madness.
All right, so let's jump into some of those fan theories and predictions swirling around online.
Okay.
Now remember, these are purely speculative, but it's always fun to kind of see what viewers are thinking.
Right, yeah. Speculation is like the lifeblood of any fandom. It keeps the excitement going, fuels those debates.
Exactly.
So, what are some of the wildest theories you've come across?
Well, one theory that's really taken hold is that Hal might be playing a deeper game than we realize.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know, think back to that shocking power move he pulled in season 1.
Right.
It was completely out of character. And some fans believe it could hint at a hidden agenda.
Ooh, okay.
Could he be working against Kate's interests in some way?
That's a tantalizing thought, to
Yeah.
think that the person she trusts the most might be her biggest adversary. That's classic spy thriller material right there.
It is.
What do you think? Could Hal actually be like a double agent?
It's certainly a possibility. The show has already established that he's ambitious and willing to take risks. And perhaps those qualities could lead him down a darker path.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's operating under duress, forced to make difficult choices to protect someone he loves. Either way, it would make for a compelling twist and add a layer of psychological suspense to the show.
Yeah, I can already picture like the tension-filled scenes, those stolen glances, the coded messages, you know, the growing suspicion between them. It
Absolutely.
would be heartbreaking to watch the relationship crumble under the weight of secrets and betrayals, but it would also make for some incredible drama.
It would. And it would play into that central theme of trust, or rather the lack thereof, that permeates the show.
Right.
Who can Kate truly rely on in this world where everyone seems to have their own agenda?
Exactly. And speaking of agendas, there's another big question looming over season 2.
Yeah.
The true identity of the hostile force behind the events of season 1.
Right.
We know they're out there, pulling strings, orchestrating chaos. But who are they? What are their motives?
That's the mystery. That's been driving fan speculation into overdrive.
Okay.
Some theories suggest it could be a rogue nation-state, perhaps one with a long-standing grudge against the West. Others point to a powerful shadow organization, a global cabal
Yeah.
with its fingers in everything, from finance to espionage.
Okay, I have to admit, the shadow organization theory is really grabbing my attention, and that it has that air of conspiracy and intrigue. That fits so well with the Diplomat's world. Plus, it could tie into real world concerns about the growing influence of non-state actors and the shadowy forces shaping global events. What do you think is more likely? Rogue nation or shadow organization?
I'm leaning towards the shadow organization as well. It allows for more creative freedom in terms of storytelling, and it taps into those contemporary anxieties about unseen forces manipulating global affairs.
Right.
Imagine a network of individuals operating outside the traditional structures of power, wielding immense influence, but accountable to no one?
Yeah.
That's a chilling thought.
It is. It's like something straight out of a John le Carré novel. And it would make the stakes even higher for Kate, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
She's not just dealing with traditional diplomacy. She's facing a shadowy enemy who operates by their own rules.
Right. Exactly.
And speaking of new challenges, we can't forget about the new characters set to join the fray. In Season 2, the casting announcements have already sparked a wave of speculation, and fans are eagerly dissecting every clue to piece together who these new players might be and what roles they'll play.
It's like you're
trying
to solve a puzzle before
all the pieces are revealed. It is. What are some of the more intriguing rumors you've heard about these new characters?
Well, there's been a lot of buzz about a charismatic but ruthless foreign diplomat who's rumored to be joining the cast.
Oh, okay.
Some speculate they can become a powerful ally for Kate, someone with the influence and connections to help her navigate the treacherous waters of international politics. Others believe this new diplomat could be a formidable adversary. A master manipulator. Who's always one step ahead.
Oh, I love the idea of a character that keeps everyone guessing.
Right.
Are they friend or foe? Can they be trusted? It would add a whole new level of uncertainty to the diplomatic chess game.
It would.
And it would force Kate to be even more strategic in her alliance.
It would. In a world where allegiances shift constantly, she can't afford to make any missteps.
And then there's the speculation about a high-ranking intelligence operative joining the cast. Someone with deep connections to the world of espionage.
That's an intriguing prospect.
That is. We've already seen glimpses of the intelligence world in Season 1, but bringing in a dedicated operative would ramp up the suspense even further.
Absolutely.
Think clandestine meetings, coded messages, maybe even some high-stakes undercover operations.
Exactly. It could open up a whole new dimension to the show, exploring the murky line between diplomacy and espionage, and forcing Kate to confront the moral complexities of operating in a world where deception and manipulation are often the tools of the trade.
Makes you wonder how she'll handle those challenges. Will she be able to maintain her integrity while navigating the shadowy world of intelligence gathering? Or will she be forced to compromise her values to achieve her goals?
Those are the questions that keep us coming back for more, aren't they?
Yeah.
Speaking of questions, there's one that's been dominating fan discussions. What's going to happen to Kate and Hal's relationship?
Yes, the elephant in the room. Their marriage was already on shaky ground in Season 1. And with all the new challenges and potential betrayals looming on the horizon, it's hard to imagine their relationship surviving unscathed.
Some fans are holding out hope for a reconciliation, believing that their shared passion for diplomacy could ultimately bring them back together. But others are predicting a heartbreaking split. Perhaps even a scenario where they end up as rivals, forced to choose between their personal feelings and their national duty.
That would be a devastating turn of events. But it would also make for some incredibly compelling drama. Would imagine the tension, the emotional stakes, the impossible choices they'd have to make. It would be like watching a Shakespearean tragedy unfold on the world stage.
It would. And it would highlight the show's central theme, the human cost of diplomacy.
Right.
These aren't just abstract political maneuvers. They have real consequences for the individuals involved, their families, their relationships.
Exactly. The Diplomat reminds us that even those in positions of power were human beings with emotions, vulnerabilities, and the capacity to be hurt. And sometimes the sacrifices they make extend beyond the political realm and into their personal lives.
It's a powerful message.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons why this show resonates so deeply with audiences.
So we've got potential betrayals, shadowy forces, new players entering the game, and the looming question of Kate and Hal's relationship. Season 2 of The Diplomat is shaping up to be an explosive cocktail of political intrigue, personal drama, and moral dilemmas.
It's a show that's not afraid to ask tough questions, explore the complexities of human nature, and challenge our assumptions about the world we live in.
And with the premiere just around the corner, the anticipation is palpable. What are you most excited to see unfold? In Season 2, what twists and turns are you hoping the writers have in store for us?
Well, for me, it's the psychological thriller aspect of the show that keeps me on the edge of my seat. Who can Kate truly trust? What hidden agendas are at play? How will she navigate the treacherous waters of international diplomacy while battling her own internal demons?
Oh, yes, the internal demons. I'm fascinated by the psychological toll that these high-stakes decisions must take on someone like Kate. How does she cope with the constant pressure, the moral ambiguity, the weight of the world on her shoulders?
And how will those internal struggles manifest in her actions?
Right.
Will she become more ruthless, more guarded, more willing to compromise her values to achieve her goals?
These are all questions that I'm eager to see explored in Season 2.
Me too. But before we get too carried away with our own speculation, let's hear from you. What are your burning questions? What theories have you cooked up?
Yeah, share your thoughts on social media using hashtag #TheDiplomatDeepDive. And let's continue the conversation. We're dying to hear what you think.
And when we come back, we'll be shifting gears to delve into the show's exploration of psychological warfare, a theme that's sure to become even more prominent in Season 2.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've covered potential betrayals. We talked about those shadowy forces lurking in the background. And of course, the big question mark hanging over Kate and Hal's relationship. But now let's shift gears a little bit and dive into a theme that's particularly relevant, I think, in the world of The Diplomat.
Okay.
And that is psychological warfare.
Oh, yeah.
It's subtle, it's manipulative, and it just adds this whole other layer of tension to the show.
You're absolutely right. Psychological warfare in diplomacy, it's all about using these tactics to influence emotions, motivations, and even the decision-making of your opponent. It's about getting inside their heads and using that knowledge to your advantage. And we saw glimpses of this in Season 1, but I think Season 2 is really going to crank it up a notch.
That makes sense, especially with the higher stakes that we've talked about. Can you give us an example of how psychological warfare might play out in the context of the show?
Sure. Let's say Kate is trying to negotiate like a critical treaty with a foreign leader.
Instead of relying solely on traditional diplomacy, she might strategically leak information to the press, knowing that it will create pressure on her counterpart and make them more willing to concede.
Wow.
Or she might use subtle language, even body language, to convey a sense of strength and confidence, even if she's feeling uncertain inside.
It's almost like she's playing a game of chess, but the chessboard is the human mind.
Yes.
And the pieces are emotions, perceptions, beliefs.
Exactly. And it raises some really fascinating ethical questions.
Yeah. I mean, how far is too far when it comes to psychological manipulation?
Right. Is it ever justified to use these tactics, even if it means exploiting someone's vulnerabilities or fears?
Those are really tough questions, and I think the show really does a good job of grappling with them. It forces us as viewers to think about the gray areas of diplomacy and the really difficult choices that those in positions of power have to make.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Diplomat doesn't shy away from the moral complexities of these situations. It acknowledges that even with the best intentions, the pursuit of peace and stability sometimes requires resorting to unconventional tactics, tactics that might blur the lines a little bit between right and wrong.
It makes you realize that diplomacy isn't always about polite negotiations and formal agreements. It's a battle of wits, this psychological chess match where the stakes are incredibly high.
And the consequences can be devastating, not just for the individuals involved, but for entire nations. One wrong move, one miscalculation can lead to this cascade of unintended consequences, escalating tensions, and even pushing the world closer to the brink of conflict.
So as we head into Season 2, I think it's important to keep this element of psychological warfare in mind.
Yes.
Pay attention to the subtle cues, the unspoken messages, the strategic maneuvers that characters use to gain an advantage. I mean, it's those hidden layers that make the Diplomat so compelling.
It's a reminder that diplomacy is a multifaceted art form, one that requires not only diplomatic skills, but also psychological acumen and a deep understanding of human nature.
And as viewers, we kind of get to witness this intricate dance unfold with all its complexities and moral dilemmas.
Thought-provoking entertainment at its best.
Absolutely. And it's also a reminder that in the world of the diplomat, nothing is ever as it seems.
That is true.
Well said. So before we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you,
Okay.
if you could ask. The writers of The Diplomat, just one question about season 2, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There are so many questions I'd love to ask. But I think the most pressing one for me would be, will Kate be able to retain her core values and her sense of humanity as she navigates the increasingly treacherous waters of international diplomacy?
That's a brilliant question, because ultimately that's what we're all invested in, isn't it?
I think
We're rooting for Kate, not just as a diplomat, but as a human being. We want to see her succeed, but we also want to see her hold on to those qualities that make her so relatable and admirable.
exactly. We want to believe that even in the face of this immense pressure and moral ambiguity, it's possible to stay true to oneself and make a difference in the world.
And that's what makes The Diplomat such a compelling and thought-provoking show. It's this reminder that even in the darkest corners of the world, there's still hope for humanity, for compassion, for those who are willing to fight for what they believe in.
Well said. I think that's the perfect note to end on.
I agree. So as you dive into season 2 of The Diplomat, remember to keep those key themes in mind. Watch for the subtle tactics of psychological warfare, the shifting alliances, the personal sacrifices, and those moral dilemmas that these characters face. And most importantly, ask yourself, what would you do if you were in their shoes?
Don't miss the premiere, and be sure to join us again for another deep dive after you've had a chance to process all the twists and turns. We'll be here ready to dissect every episode and analyze every motive.
Until then, keep those theories coming, stay engaged in the conversation, and remember, in the world of The Diplomat, nothing is ever as it seems. Thanks for joining us.